So we're discussing over here now, discussing the different levels of bittul. Um, the Rebbe was medayik in the lashon of the Friedrich Rebbe in the Maimer. There are different levels. He says that the neshama is whole. Why? Doesn't require correction because the neshama in of itself is on the highest level. It says, uh, quotes from the Zohar that the neshama was kaima b'diyukno kamim alka kadisha, that it was standing in its image in front before Hashem. And he says further that it's standing in a dveikus amiti, real connection. And then he adds further ein zor ito. So it seems like he's talking about different levels of how the neshama, before it came down lamata, how it was totally subjugated and a non-entity, and then it comes down below. So we see the neshama who was betachlis habitl, so it doesn't need any correction. So he questioned the language. What does it mean, ein zor itoy, that there is nothing, it's even such bitl? What is the additional level of bitl? Anyways, so he quotes from the Gemara that Yaakov wanted to reveal the Kates to his sons, and couldn't. The Shechina was hidden for him, so he thought maybe there's a problem with some of his children. Maybe there's a pagam. That's why he doesn't have the Shechina. So they said, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that you are the way, Ein Belibcha Echad Ela Echad, just like in your heart there's only one, there's only Hashem. Same thing is Belibenu, in our heart there is only Hashem. Okay, so the Rebbe asks, why is it say only Belibenu? He asked, which means only in the level of Belibcha. How could the level of the Shvatim have the same level of bittul of Yaakov? So what the Rebbe is going to explain now, bringing the mashal from the way machshava and dibur are bottled to their source, to bring out that there is a level of bittul which bichlal there is no entity at all. The Rebbe will discuss the bittul of Atzilus, and within Atzilus itself, it's a little bit of difficult, Hasidic terminology here. But the bottom line that we'll learn over here, that there is a level of bittul that comes from the essence of the neshama, which taps into a much higher madrega. Let's go step by step over here, and we'll see what the Rebbe explains over here. So this is explained by the Mittler Rebbe in Shari Tshuva, to explaining the real level of bittul, the bittul of Yaakov, and then also that level of bittul also is by all Yidden. So he explains first, to explain the levels of bittul, the difference between habittul the dibur lemachshava, lehabitl the machshava lesechel, the subjugation of speech to thought, and the subjugation of thought to the intellect, which means the speech that a person speaks is subjugated to his thought. In order for the person to speak, he has to think about what he speaks. So that speech is subjugated to his thought. However, the Rebbe will explain, speech in of itself is an entity, but in order for it to have directions, how to speak, what to say. It needs the level of thought, but the thought is not creating dibur. Dibur is an independent entity, but it is subjugated to the machshava. Similar to, we're going to say, the horses are subjugated to the rider. So the rider tells the horses he wants them to go, they go, so they're subjugated. But the rider does not create the horses are themselves. He's not create the horses, and they're not. He's not the horses. Horses are independent. They have an entity, and you're directing the horses where they should go. Dibur is a entity by itself, but the machshove, the thought, dictates and controls where the speech, what it should say. But when we talk about the bittel of machshove to seichel, how do you know when the seichel, you have the thought over there, that level of machshove doesn't exist without seichel. The entire machshove, the entire thought, is built on seichel. Let's look inside. Shehabitul the dibur lemachshove, that subjugation of speech to its thought, einoi bitul betachlis. It's not a total subjugation. The hagam shebichdei sheyeh hadibur mesuder hu al yidei shehadibur mekabel memachshove. In order for the speech to be organized, it is bottled to the machshove, because in order for speech to be an organized, shouldn't just be talking. So hu al yidei shehadibur mekabel memachshove. That is, the speech receives from the thought, so that the speech should be a comprehensible speech. So it receives from it two things. The noisef lozeh shekoidem hadibur tzorich lesader b'machshavte eich ledaber. This is before you speak. Before you, in addition, before you speak, you have to organize in your mind how to speak. Ki yidua, as it's known, be'inyan amora dalet pamim beinoi liben atzmei, that he said it 4 times by himself before he was able, before he would say it, he would say it 4 times by himself, basically meaning that you have the preparation in your mind beforehand what you are going to say. So you have to organize it. That is prior to the actual speech. In addition to that, hinegam be'eis hadibur gufa, also during the time when you're actually speaking, tzorich shem hamachshove toir behadibur. So you need that the thought should shine in the speech, so that shetia kefi hoiros hamachshove. So what you speak should be according to the direction of the thought. So as you are speaking, you also have the machshove controlling and dictating how the speech should come out. So basically, the speech is dependent, is subjugated to the thought, because this thought directs it how to speak. First of all, before you start speaking, you have the level of machshava 4 times, say it over on your own. That's before. And during the speech, you also have the machshava controlling and making sure that the speech should be proper. So that means that this speech, the dibur, is subjugated to the machshava dictates it. However, it doesn't mean that dibur comes from the machshava, it's just controlled, dictated. Mikol mokem. Nevertheless, hadibur be'etzem husay, the speech in its essence, speeches unifred ma machshava, that's separate from the machshava. The subjugation of the speech to thought, it's only as it relates to this, the hadibur kifi that the order, the way the letters, the speech, the words come out should be based according to the directions of the thought. But it's not that the thought creates dibur, it is that thought, dibur is separate. In order for this dibur to be a controlled, directed dibur, it's controlled by the machshav. Behu, we can give an example for this type of bittel, is kimoi bittel hamerkove lehareich. This is similar to the subjugation of the carriage, the ride, the horses, to the rider, which means that the horses, they follow the carriage. It'll go wherever the directed by the rider. That's the bittel hamerkove l'hareichem. So it doesn't mean that the carriage, the horses are the rider, they're separate. Hamerkove himitzius bifnei atzmo. The carriage is an entity on its own. The habitl shel hasusim merkove l'hareichem, and the subjugation of the horses, which is the carriage, l'hareichav, to the rider, urak b'negeya lozeh, it is only as it relates to this specific aspect, shahalichosam tiya kfirotzen hareichav, so that their going should be according to the wishes of the rider. That's the level of the bittel of the merkava to the reicha, to the rider. This is the bittel of the oisius hadibur to the machshava. The dibur are separate by themselves, but they're controlled that the dibur goes and speaks what the machshava wants. But this is different. The level of machshava's bittel to seichel is on a much higher level, that there is no entity of machshava without seichel. Masha Enkein, as opposed to habitl, the oisius hamachshava l'haseichel. When we talk about the subjugation of the letters of what you're thinking about in your thought, the way you think of the letters, its subjugation to the seichel. It's not just as it is connects to how the letters of the machshava, how the thought should be. But that's already in their essence, the existence of the machshava, the oisius machshava, is directed and is bottled to the seichel. In order for there to be those letters of thought, Udavke al yidei haseichel hamidos shemelubash b'hem. It is only through the seichel and the midas. They're not a separate entity. You have either the person's intellect or the emotion. They dress up in the letters of the machshava. You think about either an idea or you think about an emotional character. So the seichel or the midas are really that bring alive, and they make up the oisius. So you need the existence of the oisius. They're not separate from the seichel or the midas, but their whole existence, they're there only with the seichel. It's a much greater degree of bittul. So how come if they need the machshava and there's no machshava, there's no oisius machshava without seichel and midas, how come a person is always thinking? And the answer is because there is midas, the seichel and midas are always v'zeh Shehamachshava mishitetes tamid. The fact that the machshava is always floating, it's always there. Huli fisha seichel v'hamidas nirgoshim tamid b'ha'adam. It's because the intellect and the emotions are always felt by the person, and that's why there's always thought by the person. So there's always that level of machshava, but they're all based on seichel. Can't be thought without seichel or midas. We say to Mizu, it's not only they can't exist without the midas, but their entire existence is for that people purpose to receive from the machshava. That's all what they're there for. We say to Mizu, she'inyonem shel oisyes hamachshavahu. What is the idea? What are these letters of thought? That they receive from the intellect or the emotion that dress up in them. That's what the Oisei Machshava is. So it turns out that the bittul, that subjugation of the Oisei Machshava to the Seichel, is a complete, because they have a non-existence without him. That's all what they're there for, is to serve as a vessel to receive the machshav, the seichel, and the midas, as opposed to dibur, which is an independent entity. So, what is the idea? Explains over here. The hachiluk bein machshava lidibur, the difference between machshava, thinking about it, and speaking, ugam be'oifun shayichusam lahaseichel v'hamides hamislapshis b'hem. It is also how they connect to the seichel and the midas that dress up in them. We have the seichel and midas, the way it comes down in the oisius hamachshava, in thought, and then we have the seichel and midas, the way it comes out in speech, the connection from the letters of machshava and the letters of dibur is different. The machshava hu levush hamiyuchad, the dibur hu levush hanifred. Machshava is a designated levush. It's a specific levush for the seichel and midas, and the dibur is a separate levush. It's not only not designed, it's not miyuchad, it's not unique just to that. The inyan hadibur hu, because in dibur is outside, but dibur is sheha'odam malbish sichlei umidoisav b'metzias oisyes shechutz mimenu. By dibur, the pshat is that the person dresses up, he takes his intellect and his emotion into an entity in the metzias, in oisyes that are outside of him. The oisyes, the dibur is outside of him, in something which is outside, in the dibur of the person, he takes his machshov and dibur and dresses up the lochein. And therefore, because it's an entity by itself, so Hagam shebichdei sheyiyeh hadibur mitzad ha'odam hamedaber. And therefore, although that in order there should be the dibur from the person speaking, who davke kishahadibur mekabel mahaseichel lo amidas shaloi, it's specifically when the dibur receives from the intellect and from his emotion. So that's the way to be the speech, but the speech is not created. It can be on loan after lachein. So hagam shebichdei sheyeh dibur mitzad hudav kishadibur mekabel maseichel midas shaloi mekol makom, but nevertheless la'acharei sheyeshnoi kvar hadibur. But once there is already speech, well, nishma gam lizulosei, he can be heard by somebody outside, someone else, v'nifrad mehodam hamedaber, and is separate from the person speaking. Why? Because dibur to begin with is a levush hanifrad. So therefore, after the machshava gives, controls what the dibur is outside, can be heard to somebody else. But on the other hand, what is the letters of machshava? The old idea is that the intellect and the emotion of the persons are revealed. It's not a separate thing that receives from it, but the revelation. How does the intellect and the emotion of the person, which is in his inside, in his neshama, in his essence, how does it come out? It thinks that thought brings what's inside to the outside. Even after there already are letters of thought, they don't go outside. It's not nifrad. No other person can see what the person's machshava is, because the machshava is only the gilui from the person's seichel and midas for himself. This will all tell us in the different levels. So we have a level of bittul, of dibur to machshava, and we have a deeper level of bittul, of machshava to the seichel and midas. Hine b'habitl the oisius hamachshava lahaseichel, over here too. Yesh tei dargis b'chlolus. There is two general levels. So even in the machshava, and we'll see this interprets to Atzilus and even higher within Atzilus itself versus Bri Yitzira, as in a minute we'll see. In this subjugation of the letters of thought to the intellect, generally there's two levels. There's kasher choyshev es haseichel be'oisyoso. When you think about the letters, about the idea with the oisios. So you are thinking about it, it comes already down to the level of oisios. And for sure, not just when you're thinking about the idea with its letters, is when you're thinking, how do I give over this intellect to somebody else? Okay, now, like we said before, shekoidem hadibur, that before he speaks, he needs to organize in his thought how to speak. So that's thinking with letters. The machshava zu nirgoshim ha'ishis. So in this thought, you feel there's letters there. You feel that there is thinking with that. Elo, shem yichodes masechel kanal, where they are connected with the seichel. So that's one level of the bittul, the oisius, but you still have oisius there. But then there is just thinking about it without feeling the oisius. Then there's v'kasher choyshev as a seichel atzmei. You're just thinking about the seichel. You're not thinking how to explain it, and you're not thinking about the idea itself with its letter. You just the idea itself. They call it machshava shebe machshava, the thought of thought. Over there is not even felt at all the letters. Because over there they're included and they're subjugated to the seichel. So basically, we discussed here three levels of bittul. We discussed the level of bittul of dibur next to machshava, where there is an entity of oisius. We discussed the level of machshava's bittul next to the seichel, which there's no entity of oisius. But in here too, we have two levels. In one, which you're thinking there is a sense of oisius, and then you have a higher level, where machshava shebe machshava, there's no oisius at all. And this will now, three levels, be interpreted: the bittul of Bri Yitzira Asiya, the bittul of Atzilus, a bittul of Merkava, and also the bittul of Atzilus in complete bittul. So now we explain, when the Shvatim said LeYaakov, she'ein belibcha ela echad. So the Rebbe was medayik before, belibcha davke. They say, in your heart, believe, like bekoil. In the deep of the heart, the Rebbe asked why only in the heart, but the others were a merkava to the Ebershter. But this is a higher level than Merkava. This is Belipcha Ela Echad, which is even a higher level of Bittel. That's the higher level of the Bittel of Machshava to Seichel. Because this idea that there's Ela Echad, there's only one, which means She'ein Shum Mitzias Mibil Odi, that there's no Mitzias without Hashem. Gam loy mitzias shabatul elov, even not an entity that is subjugated, no exist at all. That's the level of bittul is belibcha. Velochein amru ein belibcha le'echad. That's why they're saying in your heart. Why? Because the belibcha le'echad is a higher level of bittul even than merkava. Av sheha saying merkava, even though the others are the merkava. And the subjugation of the Merkava is in all limbs, meaning not only in the heart, but it's in all limbs. So why are they saying Belib Chodavke? Because this level of bittul we're talking about over here, Ki inyan zeh, the Elo Echad Udavke Belib. This level of bittul, Ein Elo Echad, is taka only belief. Ubelibe Gufa, and within the heart, it's the Pneumius in the inner of the heart. Okay, now, as we said earlier, the pirush bilipcha in ubetechalim. So why is that? Ki behadarga the leiv, because even in the level of leiv, gam belev odom ha'elyin, even if we talk about the level of the supreme odom, in the level of atzilus. So when we're talking about the leiv of Odom, that's the heart, that's the midos of Atzilus. So even in the madrega of heart, kivan sheyesham inyan hamidos, since there is the idea, there are emotions there. You have the emotion, hagam sheyu v'chayoy chad mamish, even though he and his energy that vitalizes in Atzilus is one. That's not really echad. So in leiv is not echad yet. In the inner of the heart, over there is take, over there the union of elo echad. So the level of ein Elo Echad is only belipcha in the higher level, which is even higher than the midos of Atzilus, because this is even, because over there's already an entity. There's midos, but in a way where there's not even midos, that is belipcha. So now it goes back to explaining. He started off, what is the addition of Ein Lezor Itcha after saying Kaima B'Diyikno Allah, and after saying that it's bidvekasi. What does he add to the level of zor? Because this is even a higher level in bittul, that level of belibcha, that inner bittul, a deeper bittul, yesh levayer. So based on this, we can explain. After the Friedrich Rebbe in the Maimer says, Shaneshama b'yesol when the neshama was above, Havo kaimo b'diyukno kame malka kadisha, that it was standing in its image before the Holy King, before Hashem. Then he says an additional level, that it was in total connection to Hashem. So what does he add? He says also this addition, that it had one will just for Hashem alone, without any stranger. What is the addition over there? What does it mean? Those things strange. Even a entity which is total bottle, also that is Ein Zor. Kapitel the oisios hamachshava klulim b'seichel, just as the subjugation of the letters of machshava b'seichel, even that level, there is still oisios there, and this is Ein Zor, that even such a zar is not there. There is no stranger, not even a mitzias that is bottled, not even oisios of machshava and seichel. Shahanishama beyosa l'maylo. Because what was the level of the neshama when it was above? Heir ba hagilui the nekudas halev. In the neshama there shined the revelation of nekudas halev, the point of the heart. That is how much the neshama had above, more than the level of the bittul, even of the Eisius HaMachshava in Seichel. Shemitzad Gilui Zeh Ein Zor Itui. That revelation of the neshama, the way that is Ein Zor Itui. There is no strangers. There is no even an entity at all. Ein Belibcha Elo Echad. Ein Belibcha Elo Echad. There is nothing in your heart. But Echad, there's no Zor, there's nothing, there's no Mitzvah, there's no Oisius. That's the bittel of Bilibcha in the higher level of life. The Rebbe will continue to explain that that level of bittel comes from the Etzem HaNeshama. So although the sons of Yaakov were in Beria, and in Bria we have Yikud Tato, you don't have that great level of bittel. So how could they say, but mitzad the essence of the neshama, every yid has even that level as, and it can come down also begilu, and that's why they say kishem, as the Rebbe will continue to explain further in the minor. Okay, we'll be mamshich.
Yes, sure.
Soon be in touch.
Sure. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, I didn't hear.